everybody, and welcome to this month's episode of the Social Wave Project. My name is Sarah Francis, but everyone calls me Sez, and I upload podcast episodes once a month where I talk about relevant topics featuring amazing guests, talking about topics like raising awareness to things that we all share and to enjoy. I know I'm not getting really the right stuff at the intro, but I will get there at some point. In this month's episode, I'm going to be interviewing Mason, and Mason is an advocate for autism and for Crohn's disease. And having Crohn's disease himself, Mason has taken the time to raise awareness of both autism and Crohn's by creating a podcast of his own. And today I'm going to be talking to him about it, as well as sharing some facts about Crohn's disease, which is a massive thing that he's very passionate about, as well as autism, and also just to talk about how Crohn's actually affects people, not just in the UK, but around the world as well. And Mason, thank you so much for joining with us today. How are you?
Well, thank you, Seth, for allowing me to come on. I think it's great what you're doing. Because I know when I started my own podcast, it was probably about so similar to when just after the pandemic started, and we was in the first lockdown last year, and I never heard of a podcast before, so it was quite new to me. And I think podcasts are now the way forward of connecting with different people.
Also, I've just seen in the background, and I know I've seen it before we started recording, but I know you got the TARDIS in the background. So I think the first question will be the fun one. Who's your favourite Doctor? Like Doctor Who?
My favourite Doctor is the 10th Doctor, David Tennant, because I was quite young when I started watching Doctor Who, because the first Doctor I started watching was the 9th Doctor, and because I think that's when they started Doctor Who again. I think they had a break before then, and with the 10th Doctor actually, when he started off, I would say the reason I liked him because I didn't know he was Scottish, because his accent is so English when he's on the show, but in real life he's Scottish, and he does the 10th Doctor really well.
Oh yeah, David Tennant. I definitely remember seeing the revival as well when I was younger, because the 9th Doctor was Christopher Eccleston, and he basically now does the A word on the BBC. And then David Tennant, yeah, he does sound like he's Scottish, but I always thought whenever I watched Doctor Who, it was a mixture of English and Scottish, really. So if his voice was very deep for a Scottish accent, he might have to lighten up a bit to English, because with David Tennant, he was doing a bit of theatre work, so I can imagine he had to do some professional stuff before he went to Doctor Who. But yeah.
I think that because of course I think that was his dream when he was younger, to be on Doctor Who and be the Doctor, and he got his dream there. But I think even after David Tennant, I did like Matt Smith as well. I thought he was quite funny, and yeah.
Oh no, I had a crush on Matt Smith as well when I was younger.
I think since Matt Smith left, I haven't really maybe enjoyed Doctor Who as much. So since he left, even though Peter Capaldi he was good, but I didn't like when you saw Matt Smith and David Tennant, you kind of liked them straight away, really. But from Peter Capaldi, it probably took time to get used to him. Even though he was on Doctor Who beforehand, for I think an episode when David Tennant was the Doctor, but I think the Doctor Who is not as it's not like it was before when David Tennant, Matt Smith was the Doctors.
Oh yeah, I definitely couldn't agree more. But then I definitely would think we got sidetracked with Doctor Who, but it was a really good thing to start off with, because you can't go wrong with a good question to begin a podcast. So Mason is a podcaster. So I don't know if I've got this incorrectly or right, but your podcast is called what was it? Crohn and Autism Advocate, I think. But
that is right.
Mason has autism, but he also has Crohn's disease as well. So, Mason, can you tell us a little bit about your Crohn's disease diagnosis as well as autism? Did you
Yeah.
get them both at the same time or separately?
No, well, first of all, I got diagnosed with autism, and that was when I was 9, and so I was quite young, so compared to when I got diagnosed with Crohn's disease is when I was 16, and so when I was 9, that would have been in 2009, and I got diagnosed with Crohn's in 2017, so quite apart, but I like with autism. I was quite young, and I probably didn't know much about it at that time because I probably never heard of autism before. Like when I was diagnosed with Crohn's, I never heard of Crohn's before.
Oh, that's really interesting because I know that with Crohn's, it can actually be very scary. And I wasn't like really well aware of it. I heard it somewhere before, but I wasn't really aware of it until like when I did some research about it before the podcast. And I know, Mason, you are like a big expert of like Crohn's and autism, but like with the Crohn's, I've actually written somewhere that Crohn's is a lifelong condition where parts of the digestive system become inflamed. So, in other words, really, there's part of the stomach for Crohn's disease that's either not working or it can hurt. And
Yeah.
I believe that's where the food allergies come in as well.
Yeah, like I do like to relate autism and Crohn's in a way because, like, of course, with autism, everyone experiences it in different ways, and with Crohn's, everyone can experience it in different ways. But like like with Crohn's, like as you say, like it's almost like you're like you can get inflamed, like inside, meaning like it's all red, and like where people do get into flares as well with Crohn's. Meaning what a flare is just like is where that like you're all inflamed, and there's different types of Crohn's as well. It kind of goes into like the stands for like inflammatory bowel disease, like IBD, where people have ulcerative colitis, which affects like the colon. It's a little bit different to Crohn's, but they're all like in the same family, like with inflammatory bowel disease.
I heard that there were 5 different types of Crohn's disease as well, from what I understand.
Yeah. The type I've got is called patchy pans. It's fortunately it's the worst type you can get. Like for me, like I'd say I have Crohn's and colitis. Where people can get Crohn's and colitis, you have a little bit of both. Where for me, it affects from your mouth down to like your back passage. So it doesn't always affect the inside of you. It can affect like maybe you can get ulcers in your mouth, or like it affects like all the way up and down, and like you like like it's quite known for people to have surgery with Crohn's, and so occasionally people have stomas to help. So if the pain is quite bad, and you try a lot of medication with Crohn's to like keep it in a good place, and sometimes for some people that they try all this medication, it doesn't work, and they have to have maybe stoma or possibly surgery.
That's the things that I have heard about, and it must be like very scary to like go through many operations in other people's perspectives as well, because
Yeah.
there's always like a few choices, but the choices can be very limited sometimes. And when you were diagnosed with Crohn's, what was your first thoughts and what did you want to do? Did you wanted to have like an operation or just remain the same? What were your thoughts on it?
I'd say I was quite lucky at the time because like to know I was someone was up because because Crohn's disease is very hard to get diagnosed. I suppose so similar to autism in a way because autism is hard to get diagnosed as well. And like for me getting diagnosed through the year of 2017, even looking back on photos, I can tell how much different I looked because I lost a lot of weight. I wasn't eating like wasn't really eating anything, and eventually, because in 2017 I was diagnosed in October, so I was quite lucky in a way, because my birthday was in September, so I had an okay birthday. I wasn't in any pain really, and then kind of October time, that's when it kind of started where I was in pain. It was kind of a burning for feeling it in the right hand of my stomach area, so that wasn't very nice, and like having to trying to get appointments, and so to get diagnosed, I had a colonoscopy where, for anyone who doesn't know what that is, it's a procedure where you have like a tube down your throat and up your back passage, and that's like a camera to see where like if there's any inflammation, and kind of deciding what it is, and from there I did get diagnosed from Crohn's. So and they said I was quite lucky, otherwise if it was any longer I would have needed surgery. And then from there I was put on different kind of medication which dampens your immune system, and with Crohn's you are more susceptible to catching different colds anyway, so that's another thing with having Crohn's, that you have to be more careful.
Yes, that's it actually. And it is really interesting to see how Crohn's actually affects many people, because I heard that this was really interesting that in the US alone in 2015, there was an estimate of 3.1 million adults that were diagnosed with Crohn's in the United States. And then with women, and this was really interesting because I thought it would affect everyone, like you said, Mason. But I heard that women are 1.1 to 1.8 times higher likely to be diagnosed with Crohn's than men, and it will cause difficulty to actually be pregnant in a way, which I was really quite surprised.
I think that there are lots of sort of surprising things that you do find out with Crohn's, that different people get diagnosed, and not everyone talks about it as well. Because I'd say I didn't really talk about it much when I was diagnosed. Although I had to kind of really have to talk about, because I was in year 11 at school at the time, and it was a time where exams were, so I had to explain to teachers what was going on, even though I didn't really know what was going on at the time. I was kind of thinking, what at the time I thought, is it just some sort of little sickness bug or something? Is that why I'm not eating anything, or something like that? And then you kind of realise that you learn about Crohn's, and I know not so some people I suppose are quite lucky in a way that they've heard of Crohn's when they are diagnosed, but for some people they're not.
Now, that's like really interesting because when you were diagnosed with Crohn's, because you were in GCSEs, that's in because in England we have an exam system called GCSEs, which are focused between 14 to 15 and then to 16-year-olds as well. So with all of that, and then to get through with the diagnosis, it must have been very tricky, really, because you were focusing, like at one time you had to focus on like exams, and then the other time that you had to think about what you were going to do with the Crohn's disease. What was it quite scary to think of that?
Yeah, yeah, yes, it was because even though I was in pain, I did go in. I did go into school, because I knew I was going to catch up anyway. So I thought, well, why not go on when I still can? And then because I was actually in a drama course as well, and there's only a few people in the year that did that, and my role was like a multi-role character where I was more than one person. So me not being there kind of probably halted the like the exam, and like, because I would say I probably was one of the important characters because I played more than one character, and no one else could really take my place because they had their own characters and having to remember the lines. So eventually, I'd say I wasn't gone long from getting diagnosed, and then eventually been put on steroids, which many people that have Crohn's I have an underlying condition. Though steroids is not the best medication to be on because it makes your face really puffy and everything. But I think the good thing about if when you're on medication, if it reduces pain, that is the best thing.
That's definitely agreeable. I do understand that. And then when you mentioned drama, was it because I know that by the sound of it, you enjoyed doing drama a lot, really, which it's very fun thing to do. And for me, as like a semi-retired actress, I can really understand that because it's kind of like escapism, really, from reality, as well as you have to put hard work into everything that you do. But after you were diagnosed, did you use drama to help you like build your confidence back up?
I think that what did help because I like doing the drama, it probably helped like because I was gone a while when I was in hospital and like of course having a kind of loss of being for those that had it, that is hard because before even having the procedure you put on this drink which have to empty all your insides and it's not a very nice drink and you have
Oh,
to and you can't eat anything as well although I wasn't eating anything anyway but like I was quite empty anyway because I wasn't eating anything I, and the consultant did say that I was completely empty. I didn't have anything in me. I think what did help me, like the drama did help, and I think especially because like from the past year, of course of the pandemic as well, I have been doing a bit of drama in my spare time because not seeing many people, and like as we said at the beginning about Doctor Who, I do like doing some Doctor Who videos and now and then to keep myself occupied.
it's wonderful to see how much a drama can absolutely change your life, really. But then after that, but like moving forward on to the pandemic, because we're going to concentrate on the podcast, and I did have a little look at it because I was recommended to you by another person who we both know who's recently been interviewed, Mark Simpson Wedge. He said to me that I should really have a look at your podcast. And when I had a look, you've done so many stuff and so many episodes, and I believe you are on your fifth series now.
Yes. I'm actually like still recording like the fifth series, and I think the podcast has helped during the pandemic actually because, like I said before, like not really seeing many people, and like I don't know about you when you speak to people on your podcast says that like because like we see each other face to face, don't we? And I think that really helped like with mental health and everything, and like actually seeing someone like virtually.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, like in the times really with the pandemic and all of that, it's really easy just to have like a connection with people, and it was really difficult as well. I mean, with everyone, it's depending on what or how you wanted to like socialize or how you miss people. Because I know that there's some people who really miss socialization, and they've been joining like things to get their social life back on track, to meet up with friends and all of that by joining new groups. And like you said before, you did a drama group, and you've been watching Doctor Who as well. And yes, so what made you the idea of doing the podcast in the first place?
I think because like at the start I saw I kind of like like hearing about a podcast and seeing what it is. And I think as well with the pandemic, I think if the pandemic didn't happen, I probably wouldn't have a podcast. There are good things to take out of the pandemic in a way because with my podcast, it's probably been going about a little bit over a year now, and like because I do like recording ahead of time because I know that every podcast is different where sometimes some people release episodes straight away lot of me I don't because I do so many of them and I think if I stop and like if I stop and just do one every week I might get a bit like bored and I do have breaks now and then but I think to talking to different people it is it's relaxing.
It definitely is actually, because by the sound of like when we were talking, it's in a relaxed environment. It's definitely calming, and then in a way as well, it's always very good just to see, because sometimes looking back on autism now, people always have struggled socializing a little bit, and then I heard that through my friends who are autistic as well, they said to me that speaking to everyone online via Zoom is easier, really, because it makes them feel less nervous and sometimes less stressed, really, because it must be like hard and it feels like you're under pressure, really, when you have to have one-to-one conversations with people offline.
Yeah, and I think that like with autism, it is like when you're speaking to people about autism, on my podcast, like I think it's brilliant because I think like having other people as well, not just people that have autism, people that work around autism, and I think I do like the people like that who choose to raise awareness about autism if they don't actually have it themselves.
That's really true, actually. That's like making a good point there, Mason. And then, what's your favorite episode you've ever filmed?
Um, I would say, that's a hard question because I've done quite a load of episodes. Um, I would say, it might have been my first one where I started it because the podcast has changed a lot. Like we've actually the name actually changed as well. Because at the start it was actually called My Journey with Crohn's Disease and Autism. Originally it was just me talking. It was just me talking. It was like start of the pandemic. Me just talking about like me, my autism, my Crohn's, my like me. And then I thought, hang on, I see all these other podcasts and they have other people like on and talk and guests, and I thought, hang on a minute, me talking every week on my own is a bit boring. People don't want to listen to me every week just talking to myself. And then eventually I decided, hang on, I'll ask people, and while I was asking people, the name was still the same, and I changed it. I think to Crohn's and autism awareness
Oh, brilliant.
advocate, and then eventually got a logo created for it. Because the logo originally was a bit boring. It just had a yellow background with my journey with Crohn's disease and autism. So like now the logo is if people actually look very closely, it has Crohn's and autism awareness advocate below in writing, but the ribbon, because Crohn's disease has a purple ribbon to for it, and in it it's actually puzzle pieces, where with autism the logo for autism is like a puzzle. So I think that goes quite well.
That's really interesting how you mentioned with autism and epilepsy with the jigsaw, not epilepsy, sorry, with autism and Crohn's disease and being like jigsaw pieces and ribbons. Because when you said Crohn's disease had a purple ribbon, I realized that epilepsy has the same as well. And
Oh,
yeah, I mean, it's
oh,
crazy just to think of
yeah.
that, how that each condition has like loads of connections, really, depending on how they represent themselves in a way, from ribbons to jigsaw pieces. But there's also been like, I don't really want to go down the negative route, but I've always found that with some jigsaw pieces with autism, it has been controversial.
Yeah, I think that like 'cause the puzzle it does I suppose work with autism because it has, I think, like autism, I think in the actual logo has a half a dozen different, I think, colors as well. So it is I think like a jigsaw puzzle that does go with autism, I think.
When you said to me at the beginning, you were talked about the connections between autism and Crohn's. What made you think about them having like a connection, as well as having to look at the special diet, really? Because I know with the special diet, some people can be gluten intolerant as well, because that's one connection from what I heard. But are there any other connections between the two?
I think that I think that there is a theory that if you like we have Crohn's that like they are linked. I think quite a lot of people actually have Crohn's, that you may find that they have like autism traits. I think like the link with like autism and Crohn's and IBD, that they are of course they're completely different things, and like I suppose the difference between them, that is Crohn's disease is a disease and autism isn't.
But yeah, that's a really good point actually. When between disease and autism, but some people actually think disability as well. But sometimes there have been opposite things to say no, autism isn't a disability. But then when you look at like other stuff as well, it's really interesting to see how they play out and what people's views on it are.
Yeah, yeah. I think that like with autism, that I suppose everyone sort of sees it in a different way, and like not everyone talks about it. Like I think like especially I've always said that the more awareness everyone brings to it, that more people understand it. Because I'm always happy to talk about it. Like if someone is not too sure in it, because there are quite a lot of people still out there that are unaware of autism. But I think it would be easier if maybe more people knew about it, so not everyone would have to explain themselves.
Yeah, because I know that back in May there was like a story on YouTube about Elon Musk coming out with Asperger's, but there was a lot of negativity about it because Elon Musk is just an awful person, really, from what I see, really, and it because he hosted it when he was the new host of Saturday Night Live, which is a TV show in America, but it's really interesting how people represent themselves to think that if a person's done something terrible, that they come out saying, oh, I've got Asperger's or autism. People are going to be worried that they're going to see autism as like a person who's the bad guy because autism makes people do very bad things, which isn't true.
No, like there's always there's like with autism, there's people that have high functioning and low functioning, where I think it always goes on appearance as well with autism. And that's another similar thing with Crohn's as well. That goes on appearance. Like people sometimes will like look at the way you look and think that you don't look like you have Crohn's, and you don't look like you have autism.
Now, because that the Crohn's is also an invisible disability as well, because it's always
Mm.
impossible to tell.
Yeah, and like for example, because like people with Crohn's that may need to use a toilet quite a lot, and although it's not just a toilet condition, where so some people do think that sometimes that it's a toilet condition, it's like a stomach issue, but it's not like that. And maybe you may need to use a public toilet, a disabled toilet, and you may get looked at, but maybe because you're not in a wheelchair, but or have that priority to a disabled toilet. But I think that because we have that right to use it, I think although people do use it, you do get the people who use it like that don't really need to. But although you are going to get those people that like like to maybe want to cause an argument or something.
Yeah, that's it as well. Because I know this is about like 2 years ago. I know someone who doesn't have Crohn's but who is autistic, and he was waiting in the disabled toilet, and there was someone. I don't know if it was a person in a wheelchair or someone else, but he got a little bit of a stare at because. I think this is ages ago. Someone asked him, "Why are you in the queue for the disabled toilet?" And he says, well, I'm autistic and it's a hidden disability and I have every right to use it. And the people were so horrible to him in response to that, thinking that he didn't look autistic enough to use a disabled toilet. And that disabled toilet it isn't his right to go in there, really, because they believe he should have used a public toilet, which was absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, I think like that that is awful. Like the people just sort of, like stare at you and like I think, well, why are you using that toilet? Because it's happened to me in the past before. Like I've used a disabled toilet. I think in London once, and a person who needed to use it and was in a wheelchair like stared and kind of gave that little, why are you using that? And like you are going to get them. Like so, sometimes you may react, sometimes you may not, but it, like I like it. I think that's where it goes. Whether if you raise that awareness, then maybe that you won't have that outcome next time.
Oh yes, definitely. And I know that since like the responses to yours, Mason, and then from my friend as well, because since it's been happening a lot, some buildings like museums and railway stations, they recently put up some signs saying not every disability is visible. And I haven't really seen them much, but when I went to my local museum a few times, I was so impressed by that. I thought that's really good, but it's a shame that other places haven't done that at the moment. But goes with the saying that it may happen in the near future.
Yeah. I've actually seen like a few of those signs as well. I think it does help, and like I actually have a just can't wait card where so some people that have IBD can get one, and like you know you can just show that to like maybe if you're in a restaurant or something, can you actually need to use the toilet, you can just show that, but they don't have to let you go to the toilet, but it's up to them. But it's not like law, but at least like you have it if you do need to go, and like maybe explain that you have like a condition that makes you need to go to the toilet a bit more.
Mm. And then I know we wanted to talk about like stuff forever, but I think we'll finish off the podcast episode by one final question. And I know we'll probably leave the last question on positive notes, like I've done with the previous episodes. But are there any tips or advice you want to give to anyone who's struggling with autism or Crohn's disease? What do you think?
I think like if we start with autism to start with, that I know when I was younger and I had also like getting diagnosed quite young with autism, and I didn't know really know what autism was, and my gut instinct was, oh, autism is an awful thing to have, that it makes me maybe more, it makes me more not as smart as everyone else, because I remember in that school, like other people going faster than me, like that they knowing I like going fast in the class, and I'm quite behind, and from that I weren't asked for help. If a teacher came to me and said, "Oh, you doing okay?" I said, "Yeah," because I didn't want to other people maybe in the class to maybe laugh at me because I wasn't doing well, or I was getting quite a lot of answers wrong, or I was guessing. But from that experience and then learning as I got older, gaining more confidence actually, because I wouldn't stop speak about autism. I just thought it was a bad thing to have it, like I said. But from that, like learning that autism isn't like a bad thing to have, and then learning that it's a good thing to have, and like that, and then you know that you're not the only one that has autism, and you may like it kind of links in with the hobbies that you have, like Doctor Who, for example, that you may be really good, like talk about Doctor Who, or it does link in with your hobbies, and then you'll find people that who are interested in that, and then you could probably talk about something you're interested in all day long, and then with autism you may take things more slowly, so some things which isn't bad. So it's not like a race. But I think my advice for people that have autism is that don't be ashamed of having autism. It will be hard, I think, at the start, um, when you have autism, but it does get better, and you'll you'll hopefully maybe eventually be able to talk about it to at least somebody, and then that will help them.
Oh, brilliant. Mason, thank you so much for coming on today. I really, really do appreciate it. And it was much a pleasure to talk to you, especially with Doctor Who, because I've never talked to anyone with Doctor Who on the podcast before. But I think one day we'll probably have to get on one of the Doctor Who actors to come and do an episode on your podcast or mine as well. And
definitely.
And if you want to go check out Mason's podcast, it is Crohn's and Autism Awareness Advocate podcast, which will be up on Spotify if you ever want to go have a listen. I would really highly recommend it. And then, and I wish you all the best of luck, Mason. It's definitely been a pleasure. And until then, everybody, I will see you in next month's podcast. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.